Getting back to the slide that's up there, this is an example of someone who took a fall in the bedroom. And the first thing that happens is that the device that's monitoring the motion kicks in. Now I'm going to step in front of the camera just to show you this. This is what the computer at the monitor will be seeing. It sees each one of these spikes is a step that the person was taking. It got to a point at which the person fell, and the spike pattern, the frequency, the intensity changed, and then the motion stopped. Our computer is smart enough to determine that that was the event of a fall, not that just someone stopped or bumped into something. If they're wearing the watch that has the physiological monitor on it, here you can see the person's heart rate. Each one of these little bumps is a pulse of the heart. At the time of the fall, you can see there's a little bit of noise, and then after the event, the heart rate stayed up very high. So with the combination of knowing that they fell and this information, an audio channel automatically opens up and says, "Are you okay?" A human says, "Are you okay?" And if they say, "Yes, I need help," then the GPS kicks on, it shows where they are, and we summons help. So that hopefully helps to answer the question of how do you know what occurs. The greater number of sensors, the more accuracy that we have. But we feel that there's a substantial amount of intelligence that wearing the gateway alone will narrow in on the vast majority of events that would occur.
So my question was, if you fell and were unconscious.
If you fell and you were unconscious, what would happen inside this device, for those of you who are technically oriented, is something known as an accelerometer. It measures changes in acceleration. That's really what you're seeing there. But there's also a gyroscope. So if you're unconscious, the device is sensitive enough to be able to pick up your heart rate and your respiratory rate.
And so you don't have to answer the verbal cue.
That's correct.
And the GPS
and it would know that you're not moving your orientation. So again, the algorithms that have been developed in our monitoring stations are sufficiently smart to infer what the event was. Okay.
What if you fell on it? Could it break?
That's a very you're the first person to ask that question. I would for the people who are listening to this, that was my daughter. She was saying, if you fell on it, will it break? The device is being made out of materials that are very resilient. They will go through drop tests and things of that nature. What it does not do at this stage, it is not waterproof. It's water resistant, which means if you're out in the rain, it's not going to get damaged. But you can't take this into a swimming pool, or you can't take it into the shower. That's where the watch function comes in. Yes.
Is it even if you're not activating it to locate you because of fall? But for example, if you're in an accident or something and the device gets destroyed, is there some sort of at the monitoring point where if all of a sudden the thing turns itself off, you can go back into the history, see where you were, and then make a determination of someone else?
Part of the real intelligence of the device, and it's a feature that I wasn't going to get into, it collects information and stores the information on you. It's an enormous volume of data. And the reason that it records it and keeps it is it wants to learn about your daily patterns. For example, I was talking about someone who was sick. How do you know if they're sick? Well, if every day you get up, it sees that you get up between 7 and 8 o'clock and you walk around the house, and around an hour later you go out and you go in your car and you go to work or something, it starts to see over time, it starts to see patterns. And it starts to develop algorithms based on those patterns about you. So that if something occurs that is out of that norm, in and of itself it's not a problem. But that with other data, for example, a severe accident or something like that, would tell you that there's a problem. So that's an indirect way of answering your question. The direct answer is we have not really thought about until just now what happens if this thing gets destroyed at a particular instant in time. I can only answer it by saying that we do have the data immediately before and your history before. So again, inferences can be made, but I think it's something that our engineers should consider. What happens if this sees, for example, an event like shown on the slide where there's a major physical event and then it stops? You know, what action is taken?
Where does it go?
The information?
Where does it go?
The information goes from here to a satellite, goes from a satellite to a bank of computers that we have developed, and the computers do around 80% of the monitoring that I just described. In other words, all the information about learning about you goes into a data bank. It's all encrypted so that it's not available to anyone, including ourselves. Well, that's not exactly correct, but it's encrypted data. It goes into the database, and that's where it stays until an event occurs that the computer can't make its own decision on. If it can't make its own decision, we have operators who are trained, sort of like EMS operators. You know, the 911, not 911, the 911 operators they'll intervene. They'll contact you through this open channel. Now, there is another feature that gets to the freedom of information, and I'd like to raise that right now. One of the features that we have is, well, let me ask you a question before I get to that.